It's a pleasure to welcome you all in Douala. Today we are going to be receiving somebody who represents a body that defends the rights and the plights of players, professional football players. It is Mr. Gnosasana Massasseng. He is the Deputy Secretary General of FIFPRO. FIFPRO is the Federation of Professional Footballers Association, and this organization or this federation just held its 16th Congress here in the town of Douala. The 16th Congress, they were there to look at some of the problems that African football players, professional football players actually face and tackle it ahead. Thank you very much for accepting to be guest on our program.
Merci beaucoup, Alphonse.
Welcome to Cameroon.
It's a pleasure to be here. I've been here a couple of times. Okay. Always a pleasure to mingle among the African brothers.
We may want to, first of all, begin by looking at what FIFPRO is and what are the missions of this professional body.
Look, FIFPRO is a worldwide players movement, primarily formed to fight for the rights and the protection and welfare of the players. We're a global organization operating in 4 divisions: Division America, Division Europe, Division Africa, and Division Asia. It is for this reason that we meet every year to try and do an assessment of how we are doing or how we are representing the welfare of the players.
Let's talk about the plights of these players, because that is the center of your focus.
Yeah.
What are some of the problems that professional footballers on the continent actually face that necessitated the establishment of a structure, a platform like FIFPRO?
Yeah. Firstly, we talk about solidarity, because if you can't speak with one voice, it will be very difficult to manage, to convince those that you are dealing with. But you see, the biggest challenge we face in Africa is the unilateral termination of contracts of players. The second one is overdue payables. And players are subjected to abuse. Employers abuse the power to employ. And they render players puppets. And this at some point talks to the livelihoods of these players. So in a much more bigger scheme of things, our concern largely stems from the lack of respect of the players' contract, because then teams will just do unilateral termination. So these are some of the issues mostly that affect players in Africa.
Now let's talk about how FIFPRO Africa intervenes in situations like that. These are actually problems you've cited. How does FIFPRO make sure that it intervenes to defend these rights that are being trampled upon?
Maybe I need to mention that this is not peculiar to Africa. This is a global problem. And this is why we have a centralized operation to fight for the rights of these players by way of fully fledged legal support system, both at division and head office, which is based in Holland. We have a team of lawyers dedicated, some to different divisions, and then we will have those that sit at the head office. And also our members at country level have legal expertise to fight for this place. But most importantly, what we are fighting for is a fair and balanced dispute resolution mechanism in football. This is why we have always believed in the fully functioning of the dispute resolution chamber, which has 50% representation of players, 50% representation of clubs, and an independent chair and vice chair. This comes as a creation of FIFA on the backdrop of the fight by the players to say we need a much more quicker dispute resolution mechanism within football, and this is why we are fully fighting for this process. But besides that, we also have representation at Player Status Committee at FIFA level, and also in the dispute resolution chamber at the FIFA level. So at all levels, we are represented, especially for the interests of the players.
One of the key issues that many people ask themselves is whether the female footballer is actually represented.
Yeah.
You know, there's been this tussle, there's been this injustice that has tarried for long on the African continent with regard to female football. How does FIFPRO bring the interest of female footballers on the table?
In 2015, in Vancouver, Canada, a decision was made by FIFPRO to officially accept women as members with equal rights as their male counterparts. It was on this basis then that a lot of members started having membership of women. I know, for instance, in Botswana, one of our vice presidents is a female player, and she's the captain of the national team. We have others also in the board. We have 30% quota of women. This is to make them comfortable and know that they are equally represented. But the football stakeholders has been treating women football as a little sister to male football. And for us, this is the issue that we are currently dealing with. There's a strategy that has been developed around promotion of women football to a point where we will be in Morocco next month.
Absolutely.
For the women's AUCON.
Yes.
And we have already put careful notice to say these are the issues we want to talk about. The conditions for tournaments for women is totally different from men.
That's right.
And we're asking ourselves why. The prize money, the incentives, even at country level. Why does a national team, women national team, get less money compared to their male counterparts? So this is why we want to have this open discussion about the whole process and then develop, because what we are doing with after the AUCON, we will be having a survey in all our members and other targeted countries where we want to have a fair view of the status of women football in Africa. And then this also in preparation for the World Cup that is coming next year.
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure that female players feel important just as their male counterparts.
How do these players whose interests you people are defending intervene? Do they have the zeal to join the movement? Because they are at the center of everything. Do players actually adhere to FIFPRO in Africa? What's the situation?
Look, FIFPRO is represented in over 65 countries across the world. And unfortunately for us, we are more interested in the quality level of membership than the quantity part. And in all our members, because every year they do audits of membership.
Yes.
We are just been presented with a report that showed a 30% growth for the past 3 years. We've been experiencing this growth of membership. And because of the quality service that we give to our members, we continue to attract a lot of interest from players and other stakeholders.
We're gradually moving to the end of this exchange. Now, you are just from concluding the 16th Congress of the Africa Zone of FIFPRO. What are some of the major outcomes of this Congress?
Look, we want to realign our efforts and realign our strategy in terms of how we are going to, deal with issues that affect players on a daily, the stakeholders we want at the table, and what are we going to say to those stakeholders. So we had a fair share of discussion over the past 2 days where we were getting a clean bill of health of individual members. That's the first thing. Secondly, as a division, and also getting an appreciation of what happens at global level. You know, there are a lot of discussions around players' load, which is a topical issue now. We are fighting with federations and confederations with that. And you see, as I said earlier, this is not an isolated fight. We do this as a collective because the same challenges we face here are those that are happening in other jurisdictions. As an example, we are fighting for abuse of players. When are we having other countries using the standard contract, which FIFA introduced in 2008? So many years later, we still have those countries that have not yet implemented that. We still have countries that have not started or established the national dispute resolution chambers. And this for us were the priority areas that we are looking at. And we do this every year. We assess the performance of the last year and then plan on the areas where we want to improve.
Last question. How do you work with football associations, football bodies, talking about FAs of countries?
Yeah. Firstly, there's got to be some level of, we use what we call a social dialogue.
Okay.
Through social dialogue, we should be able to, one, have a relationship with the league. That's the first one. And then secondly, as you know, the league employs our members. And secondly, the federations, because they are the regulator, they are the custodian of football in any country. So by way of this relationship, there's what we call a collective bargaining agreement, which some countries in Africa have signed insofar as defining the working parameters with the FAs. You know, it is always easy to work with unions than to work against them. So we've seen positives out of improved relations with unions and FAs. And it is for this reason that the relationships form an integral part of improving the lives of the players.
Mr. Gnosasana Massasseng, the Deputy Secretary General for FIFPRO Africa, thank you very much for talking to CRT.
Thank you very much.
And I wish you a safe flight back to Botswana, your hometown.
Of course. and Botswana will be hosting the Africa Congress next year.
Okay,
yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was our guest for today, and we are grateful you were there to watch and see just how FIFPRO is moving or helping professional footballers on the continent and across the globe to earn what they work for. Have a blessed day.